Illman, Mike Beer, race number 13 at Monmouth on Saturday. Graded stakes action on the turf. It's the Monmouth Stakes at Monmouth Park. We're going 1 1/8 miles. $150,000 is the purse. We're going to take a look at this field. Now, one of the morning line favorites in here, the number 3 Public Sector, is expected to scratch out of this race and run in the poker at Belmont on Saturday. He's trained by Chad Brown, but Chad also has the morning line favorite, the number 6 Sacred Life, who's always been a solid horse.
Yeah, Sacred Life will be tough. It seems like he is going to run here. If Public Sector, for some reason does call an audible and run here, I personally think he's going to be really hard to beat. But it just sounds like they're going to opt for the spot in New York.
But you have a lot of ways to go in here, Mike. I mean, Tax is going to be making his turf debut off of a lengthy 1.5 layoff. He was good enough to win the Jim Dandy back in 2019. It seems like yesterday. TD Dance has always hinted at ability. You've got a Queen's Plate winner, the 7 Safe Conduct, and you've got a Michael Maker trained entrant, Glynn County, when he feels like it, runs a good one.
Yeah, that's true. There are going to be other ways to go in this race for sure. And listen, even, with that one Chad in this race, who is obviously pretty good. It's not like that horse can't be had, Dan. He's got a bad running style, and he's often his own worst enemy.
Let's start the Timeform US Pace Projector, because this could be the key to the race. When Tax was Tax, you knew that he was going to show speed in his races. What we're going to get, trying a new surface, off 1.5 years, I have no idea. Safe Conduct does like to get close to the pace, and I believe Ever Dangerous will be close as well. He was just pinched back terribly at the start at Saratoga, and he should be fresh off a long layoff.
Yeah, I think there is going to be pace in this race. That's one of the things I don't worry about. And, listen, obviously, even if Tax does show speed in here, I don't know what you're supposed to do with that horse. He just seems like a really hard horse to bet.
Yes, this time the number 1 is a pretty underrated horse, and he's going to be making his second start of the form cycle. He ran a lot in 2021, considering horses of this age rarely won 10 times in a year, and he ran 10 times, and he ran pretty well in most of those races. He was managed very well by Kelly Breen, and you'll notice versatility. Wins from on the lead, he wins from last. His last start, the Cliffhanger, one of the preps for this race, not bad at all considering the layoff. He was passing a couple of tired horses. I think maybe the outside post worked against him. I think a good trip's coming from the rail.
I agree. I like all those things about this horse. He won 5 in a row last year. And then even after that, Dan, he hit the board in 3 more stakes races as time went on. He just shows up every time. He's a really cool horse. He has his race off the layoff now. So you feel like maybe we'll get even a better performance this time. He's got a great post down on the inside. I thought there was plenty to like. He's a horse I definitely want to be using in here.
And again, I mentioned Tax's successful 3-year-old campaign. He won the Jim Dandy. He ran okay in the Travers, so he's only beaten about 6 lengths, but that was 3 years ago. And now he's coming off a 1.5 year layoff, trying a new surface. On the face of his pedigree, Arch out of a Giants Causeway mare, no problems whatsoever. And Danny Gargan is a very good trainer, especially off layoffs.
Yeah, those things are all true. This is just one of those horses who's really hard to bet because he's got, all those class lines. Everybody's going to remember this horse when they see his name. And you just can't really take too short a price on him. You're right, though. He's by Arch. It's a Claiborne female family. You feel like he will handle turf if he can still run.
The 3 Public Sector is entered in this race, but he's also cross-entered at Belmont in the poker. We're expecting him to run there, according to our correspondents on the ground in New York and New Jersey, which we'll move to the 4 TD Dance. TD Dance recently sold a public auction for $220,000. And you and I have always thought there was something here with this horse. He's always had ability. The problem is he doesn't know what he's doing. And we're going to watch his last race at Keeneland, and friends will see what we're talking about. TD Dance turns into the stretch. He's got a big look at this. And you're just going to watch him look at the stands, and he's going to change leads about 6 times in the stretch, and he's still going to only get beat ahead. He's with a new barn. He's getting blinkers. If ever a horse was crying out for blinkers, it might be this one. But how many times have we said that? They put the blinkers on, and it still doesn't change anything.
Yeah, we'll see if it does. It does feel like it almost has to with this horse. This isn't the first time that TD Dance has done what he did right there in that allowance race, Dan. He does not focus on what he's supposed to be doing, and yet he shows up and runs every time. He just got beat in that race. He had a terrible trip at Fairgrounds 2 starts back, or else he might have won. 3 starts back off the layoff, and that was a pretty long layoff. They just sent him early, maybe to try to get him focused. He wound up in a long duel in a race that ultimately went to closers. This horse, to me, is way better than he looks on paper, and he needs those blinkers bad.
Thoughts on the 1 1/8 miles, because he's going to be getting out to this distance for the first time. He's done well at a 1 1/16. He's fallen a little short in some of his races. With the Lemon Drop Kid on the bottom of his pedigree, I think he could get it.
I do too. I mean, I'm a little worried that he's not going to get better as the distances get longer, but I don't see why they wouldn't be willing to give him a chance at least once over this distance.
Ever Dangerous pulled off one of the big stakes upsets in 2020 when he won the Bryan Station at 74-1 odds. He hasn't won since, but he's hit the board in all 4 starts. Now he's going to have to come off of a lengthy layoff. His last race was this race, a 3rd level allowance at Saratoga last summer, and he lost a lot of chance at the start when he was pinched back to last. Now Javier Castellano was able to get to the inside and save ground. He swings widest, turning for home, and he's going to be able to get up for second. Although I think if you really wanted to be fair in this race, he might have run the 3rd best race. NYC, the number 1, had a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, this horse runs fine because, obviously Ever Dangerous also had a little trouble at the start of this race and it sort of left him out of position. He is going to hold on for second. This horse is okay. I mean, I don't have any real problem with him. He's run some good races and he does have good tactical speed. And it also just feels like he's been ready to go for a while, Dan. I know he's been entered at least once in New York. I think that race got rained off the turf. So now they rerouted him here.
Sacred Life, the number 6, has been managed very well by Chad Brown. He's banked over $733,000. He's won over the Monmouth turf course in the past, and they tried blinkers with him last time out in the Fort Marcy. And we're going to watch that race. It was over an extremely yielding turf course. The race was controlled throughout on a slow pace by L'Imperator, Sacred Life's stablemate, who really seemed to appreciate it. And I'm not sure whether Sacred Life liked it or didn't. Some horses, as you see, are just absolutely floundering at the back. Sacred Life doesn't change leads. He still gets up for second. All in all, an okay performance for a horse with good company lines.
Yeah, really good company lines. Yeah, I don't know that he loved this turf course, but he is going to manage to get up for second at the end here. His running style is problematic at times for him, Dan, because he just doesn't really have any speed, and he's often getting himself into traffic or leaving himself with way too much to do. That was certainly the case 2 starts back in that Muni's at Fairgrounds, just dominated on the lead. This horse actually ran pretty well in there. It was just way too late. We'll see what he does. He's going to be a short price in here, and he's, not the kind of horse that I like to take short prices on, but I think he's way the horse to beat.
Safe Conduct, the number 7, his best moment came in the Queen's Plate, the first jewel of the Triple Crown in Canada. That was in 2021 over the Tapeta surface. He got right up close to the pace, and he was able to sprint on home and hold on. He scored last time out on turf at Belmont, 3rd level allowance race. We're going to watch that. And Jose Lezcano decided not to take any prisoners. Use this horse's speed. Safe Conduct, what I thought went pretty quick in the early portion of this race, Mike. He was pretty good here at 6-1.
Yeah, I agree. This pace was pretty solid. They just decided not to take any prisoners in here and went, and he's going to manage to hold on. You're going to see the closers start to gain way too late in this race. So despite the pace being fast, it really does stand up at the end, and Safe Conduct wires the field. I don't know. I think this horse is a little underrated. It does kind of feel like, though, the key to him is getting him to the front. So we'll see how fast this pace winds up being.
The number 8 is Glynn County. And I think Glynn County, you could make a case where he's a little bit dirtied up. The last race is a throwout, obviously, on dirt. The race before was the Fort Marcy over that boggy turf course where he finished just behind Sacred Life. A little bit of traffic trouble, I thought, at Keeneland 3 starts back. And then before that, it's a lot of 1.5-mile races. And Michael Maker, obviously, when he claimed this horse for $40,000 back in 2020, thought that this horse would fit the typical program. Stretch all the way out in distance. And while he's had some success with that, maybe he's going to be better at 1.125 miles.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point to bring up. I mean, listen, they stretched him out and they did have some success. He did win at 1.5 miles, and he finished 3rd in that grade 1 going 1.25 miles. So it's worked out in some ways, but, he sort of went off form a little bit. His Fort Marcy with that boggy turf course, it's a hard race to get a read on, Dan. You're right, though, when they finally cut him back at Keeneland 3 starts back, he got really unlucky there.
Epic Bromance, the number 9, is a horse that I think you should expect to push the pace. Now, his current form is problematic because he ran last in the Knickerbocker to finish off his 5-year-old campaign, and then he ran last in the Tampa Bay in his one and only start this year. The good news is he seems to like Monmouth Park, but boy, he's got to turn it around in a hurry.
He does, and he's going to have to do it over a distance that might be short of his best. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the case then, but a lot of his success came when they stretched him out in distance. And it's also, just mostly come in allowance races. Dan, he's never really been, super competitive in grade 1 or graded stakes races.
Another horse that likes Monmouth is Ocean's Map, and he's also another horse that might want to go a little bit farther. A stakes winner going 1.5 miles at Delaware Park last summer. This will be his 3rd start of the form cycle. I think you can make an argument he's slowly running himself back into shape. It's just that his 2 performances so far this year have been okay, and he's going to have to do better than okay against this group.
Yeah, I think it's more than anything else, I just think it's a tough spot for Ocean's Map. He's actually an okay horse. I don't know if he's that great a fit in this field.
Hidden Stash began his career with a lot of promise on dirt. He was third in the Sam F. Davis. He was second in the Tampa Bay Derby. He was a well-beaten fourth, but still fourth in the Bluegrass. And I liked the connections after they ran him in the Kentucky Derby, gave him plenty of time. They've brought him back. They've mostly concentrated on turf racing. And while he hasn't won a turf race yet, he hasn't embarrassed himself on the course. I still think there's a forward move at a big price. I can use this horse underneath in single race exotics.
Yeah, I wonder if I agree with you that there could be a forward move coming. I wonder if the forward move will come when they move him back over to the main track. I don't know if they're ever going to do that. He is a maiden on the grass, Dan. To me, that makes him pretty hard to take in this race, but he ran okay 2 starts back.
Perhaps getting back to 1 1/8 is going to help the number 12, Mohs, who ran well in the Hawthorne Derby. Not sure that was the strongest field in the world, but he ran well in that race, going 1 1/8. Since then, only okay. This is a tough outside post position. I'm expecting better second off the layoff. I think it may not be good enough.
I'm worried about that too. I mean, if I was just going to take a shot, though, with a total outsider at a big price, it would be with Mohs. I liked some of his races last year. I do think there's some potential here, and he's second off the layoff now.
Before we get to our top selection, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for all the latest DRFTV video offerings. Top pick time. We're hoping he feels handsome in blinkers, Mike. TD Dance, the ability is there. It just has to be unlocked.
Yeah, that's how I'm looking at him too. I'm going to take a shot with him in here, mostly just because Dan Sacred Life feels like the horse to beat. And I don't know. I don't like taking short prices on Sacred Life, although I do think he's going to be tough. I'll try to beat him with TD Dance.
I like TD Dance as well. I think it's a fair price on the morning line. Maybe Glenn County will do better, getting back onto turf at these sort of middle distances. 4615 for Mike, 4865 for me. It is the Monmouth Stakes at Monmouth Park, and we're leading up to the Salvatore Mile and the return of Hot Rod Charlie.